parallel to him when you pin him.
This is a promotion requirement.
Alright.
This one is...
So traditionally, we're going to have Tatesheho Gatame. We're going to reach around the back and hug the arms and grapevine the legs. Alright. This is pretty tough to get out of because you're just stuck to him. Alright. There's a whole lot of variations from this. Now, one of the things I like to do to prevent people from being able to escape from this, it's my hips. I push them into the ground. You know, a lot of us get so hung up on the legs, we want to use our strength in our legs to really do that. Well, it's going to hurt you after a while, and they might be stronger eventually. But what I do find is if I rely less, I still like to hook them just for the control, but I find if I push my hips in, it actually makes it harder for them. Because right now, go ahead and just bridge. He's got a pretty decent bridge, right? All right, now I'm going to just push my hips down. Now bridge. It's a lot harder for him. All right? What it does is it makes it when he's squirming and struggling to get out, it makes it not as significant of an issue for me, which is what I want. All right? So Tatesheho Gatame, I also like to get here. This is a variation. It's just like a kata gatame. You know, you just get their arm across their face, you shove it in. And now this makes life even harder for them because not only do I push my hips in, I've got the crook of my forearm under his neck. So now when he bridges, well, it's just a lot harder because he can't go on the back of his head and get as much height. A lot of times, you know, you might just end up here. I might end up just trying to hold this hand to the ground and do that. I might be a little bit looser than I want to be. What this does for me is I can kind of predict where he's going to move. If he bridges to his right, so if he bridges to his right, I got his leg hooked in. If he bridges the other way, I got this hand as a brace with his arm. It's hard for him to turn over. It just kind of restricts his movement. It's not as tight as the other ones necessarily, but I'm methodically breaking down where he can move is what it comes down to. A lot of times, for the extra round folks, I can't really pin them well because my knees are off the ground. All I do is roll and I get squashed. So what I have to do with them is I cup the back of the head and I roll up higher. And I don't prefer this, but sometimes it's more effective because as long as I can keep control of one arm somehow or just stay tight, when he bridges, look what it does to me. It doesn't do too much as long as I just stay tight. Whereas assume he's extra round. If I was down here, if he bridged, then I start going places. So sometimes when I get someone who can bridge really, really well or someone who's just a lot bigger than me and I just can't even pin them well, I'll scoop my hips up high. I'm going to be putting my chest on their face to be extra mean and pushing their head down and their arms up. And when they do bridge, I'll tuck my feet under just to stay tight. It's not where I want to be. I'm doing a lot of this a lot of times, but it gets me the pin. So, at the end of the day, Tatesheho Gatame in essence is just being on top of your opponent and laying down, whichever way you can. You can hook under the head. You can do the kata gatame grip. If you're lucky, maybe you can get this belt grip. Maybe you like to just hold out a hand. Alright? And just take some thoughtful experimentation and practice with it. At the end of the day, though, it all comes down to controlling some of these feet, pushing down on the hips, and staying low on the face. Because you're controlling three sections of his body here. His head, so if I control his head, just to talk about neurons in general, if I push his head to the side here, which way can he not bridge right off the bat? Or which way is he going to have a hard time doing it at least?
To his left.
Yeah, this way. It's going to hurt his neck. So that's something I take into account when I'm pinning him. It's like, okay, I might not have to necessarily focus as much on this side as I do this side, so maybe I'm just going to focus a lot of my concentration on bracing here and hooking this foot when he tries to bridge. That way, when I do know he's going to try to go that way, because I mean he's just got to escape somehow, I know where I can put more of my strength or more of my technique, whatever you want to call it. I've limited where he can move. I've made it so that the Newas is a bit more predictable for me. And that's what they do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a lot of times. They're chess masters. They know where the guy can go 5 steps ahead of time. We usually don't get that opportunity in tournaments because we'll be stood up, but that's essentially what you're trying to do is just, I like to think of myself as a boa constrictor, just squishing them so they can't move anywhere. Then they get pinned for 25 seconds.
Can I bring something up?
Sure.
You mentioned the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I saw this on YouTube last week, and it was one of the Gracies, I guess the preeminent Gracie, went against a guy from Japan in one of those matches. I guess it's Ultimate Fighting or whatever it is. And he was in that position. He was the Japanese guy was, Gracie immediately went down, and the Japanese guy just stood like this for like 20 minutes, working his way a little bit at a time, and then he was able to work himself. It looked like a modified Tatesheho Gatame. And then if you remember the technique that Sensei Tohkon showed about, I don't know, two months ago, the Sode Guruma Jime, where he went around the neck, and then he came in. That's what the Japanese guy did to Gracie, and he ended up beating him. Yeah. Yeah, right. It looked like it took like about 10 minutes, but he got him, and he got him. Did the same thing that Sensei Tohkon did, and put that right off of this technique, and put that choke right into his neck. Of course, he hit it.
Is punch legal in Judo? Like when you do the Sode Guruma?
Well, if the referee can't see it, then he can't call it illegal. Right? And I think if you came straight at the Adam's apple, he would stop it. But since this was at the side, it was at the jugular vein, and he had it covered up, he called. He stopped the match, and he awarded the match to the Japanese guy. That's what I saw. I don't know. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Okay. Same technique. Same technique as Sensei Tohkon.
It looked like Yoshida passed him out, broke him up.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely. He denied that. He denied that he got choked out. It did look good.
Yeah, and that's a good point from Tatesheho.
Wait, turn this way. Put his head this way. So everybody on this side can see.
What's nice is you can get a lot of opportunities. For example, if you can work these chokes, loop it around, try and get a choke. You can do straight up rotate jime. You can do the nami juji, yaku juji, jime. A lot of times people, one of their natural instincts will be to push up on your chest. Well, that's an opportunity for an arm bar right there. Control the arm, circle around, go into it. It can also be an opportunity if they push, just drop the weight, Judo Gatame. I like this because I do just feel like I have a lot of options available for me. They use their hips. I just move up higher so it doesn't hurt me as much, and I control where they can move. They're using their hands. Usually they're going to be trying to push the chest off of me. Straight arms means you've got arm locking opportunities. If they're not doing too much, you can make life difficult for them and make them not focus about escaping the pin by going for variations of chokes, things of that nature. You can be extra mean, drive your shoulder up, pop their head out a little bit, chiropractic session. And it's also really good just transitional pin if he escapes. I mean, it's real easy to to move around, get back into it. You do have to worry about some folks with good legs to catch for that foot, but there's ways around that. I guess what I'm saying is you're just going to have to do this a while to get the proper feel on how to control your opponent. Because I can talk about it forever. Use your hips, use your hands, control the head. But you've got to practice it. So that's what we're going to do now. I just want you to pretend each other. I want Uke to give some good resistance. I want you to try variations, see what the weaknesses are, see how it can impact your balance. Essentially just want you to play with the pin, just see what it does. And I'll walk around and give you reminders on what variations to try. And then after that we'll talk escapes and what we can do about this pin. So let's do it.